What's up, Wellbeing Nation? You're with your host, Sumer Bassine, and we got a very, very special guest today. His name is Dominic Morais. Is that how you say it? Say your last name? Morais?
Yeah, Morais like Morais than bees.
Gotcha. And he is a doctoral student at the University of Texas at Austin. Powers Fellow, which is one of the most prestigious fellowships you can receive as a graduate student. That's freaking awesome. He's currently studying how the history, the sociology, and the philosophy of physical culture has shaped our society today, where it's going, where we were as a reference point, and he's focusing specifically on how strength and conditioning can affect performance. And it's really cool to have him today, a very unique perspective on health, fitness, and strength and conditioning. But beyond that, I can't forget to mention this, he's also a competitive strongman. And if you guys have watched strongman competitions, it's freaking amazing to watch. It's completely just awe-inspiring. And I'm just half the time with my mouth open seeing these guys lift stones and throw kegs over their head, let alone watching Dom do it and throw like logs over their head like it's nothing. And I'm sure it's not nothing, but the amount of kinesthetic awareness and knowledge it takes to move these items, pretty damn impressive. So awesome to have him on the show. What's up, dude?
Well, after that incredible introduction, I'm ready to go like smash PRs or something right now. But yeah, thanks for inviting me, Samir. I really appreciate it. This is really cool. I've never done a podcast before, but I'm not one to shy away from attention. So
awesome, dude. I believe too, like, so you're aspiring, you got a possible job offer in LA, right? As a professor?
Right. Yeah. So because I want to be a professor, they do it in rounds, really. So you have to kind of wait a year, and because what I study, a lot of people don't know it exists. I didn't know it exists before I started studying it, and so that also means that there aren't as plentiful jobs. The jobs aren't out there. Like, say you might have an IT job or this or that. So it's few and far between, especially with sports studies. But there's some things in the works, and I'm have a few interviews to go to pretty soon, so it's getting nerve-wracking, but it's exciting. I'm ready to take that next step.
That's awesome, dude. So with your research, I think I watched a video of you on YouTube, and this is you back in the day with the mustache. It was pretty funny to see you. But anyway, you were talking about also possibly affecting like public policy with your research. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so early on, I was a bit... I don't know. My research focus was a bit more ambiguous. But I think that understanding physical culture and understanding just how it's been marketed, that's kind of my focus now, is more the business side of it, how it's been marketed and how people have tried to attract others to it. I think that could definitely affect, later on as my research develops more, some health promotion types of focuses. I think that hopefully I can do some collaboration with some health promotion researchers and understand, maybe if a specific sport. Actually, this is one thing that I've thought of. Maybe I could follow more later. But I'm wondering if things like weight training, in which that motivation can become more internal, that task motivation versus ego motivation. I'm wondering if that task motivation and being able to track your own PRs helps to make sport more attractive to, say, people that aren't attracted or to more the team sports. And maybe that's not as appealing to people, but being able to go in, lift your own weights, set your own goals, and compete with yourself. There's a part of me that wonders if that has something to do with maybe, letting sport and exercise reach more people. That's something down the line that, maybe I can get into. But right now it's kind of marketing, business type of stuff, especially with my dissertation coming up. That's where my focus is big time right now.
So what got you into this? What got you into studying physical culture? I mean, that's such a unique perspective. I don't hear of anyone studying this stuff, so this is really cool to get your perspective. What got you started?
So I'll just give you my story. It's kind of been rehearsed right now, but I think it still resonates. So, I'm from a small town in Texas, and people, at least in the United States, many are familiar with the fact that football is king. Football is God in Texas. So I played football. I loved it. It was incredible. But I started lifting weights for football in 7th grade. And I can remember, my first bench max was 100 pounds. It's come a long way, but it's had its ups and downs.
Yeah.
But then I was fortunate enough to walk on to Vanderbilt and earn a scholarship playing football there. Was lifting weights there. And then after that, I stayed a year in Nashville, tried to figure out what I wanted to do, tried a job or two, and ended up just working front desk at a gym for a while just to pay the bills. And then it hit me that, wait a second, at a gym, I'm doing what I want to do right now. Why don't I just pursue this, something that has to do with weights, because I love that. Then I contacted my old strength and conditioning coach, and he put me in touch with a guy who hired me as a graduate assistant strength and conditioning coach at Eastern Illinois University. And that was awesome. I met a lot of cool people, a lot of great athletes, good coaches. It was an incredible experience, but it's just not where I saw myself. In everything, there are a lot of egos. We know that, there's a lot of egos in this field, but there were a lot in there, and I felt that maybe smarts didn't play as much of a role as maybe egos and experiences did. So I wanted to get out of that, but at the same time, I didn't know exactly where I wanted to go. I thought maybe I wanted to be in sport management, or maybe I wanted to be an athletic director. So luckily, one of my professors gave me this metaphorical kick in the butt and said, I really think you should pursue your PhD. And he told me about a woman named Jan Todd, who is now my advisor.
Yeah.
So she and her husband, Terry Todd, have started basically they're pioneers in the physical culture field. So she was at one point in time the world's strongest woman. She deadlifted on the Johnny Carson show, I think 405 a few times. Yeah, her husband, Terry, was the first national powerlifting champion in the United States. And so they're just so they've done it, but now they're tracing the history of it as well and doing a lot to promote the sport. Terry was appointed by Arnold Schwarzenegger to run Arnold Strongman Classic.
Nice.
Yeah, and so, through their associations with them, I was able to go up for 2 years and help out and just see it all and have my hand in some really, really big stuff, especially big period, but especially if you're into this type of fitness stuff. But eventually, like I said, my professor told me about her, and I looked her up, and then I just pestered her until she got back to me and told me to take my GRE, did all that, and fortunately, I was able to get that fellowship that you mentioned earlier, and from there, I've just tried to do my best, and things have kind of worked out. Success breeds opportunity, I guess. So
that's awesome, dude. So along those lines, like how do you feel like physical culture has changed over the years? Like you look at like CrossFit now, you look at all these like new things that are up and coming, and you look at some of the grassroots of strength and conditioning. How has it changed over the years, and what do you think about it?
Well, this isn't going to be anything groundbreaking, but I think it repeats itself, just like a lot of things. I know one easy example is the kettlebell. It was around, and then it wasn't, and then it comes back. I've gone through my research, and people were doing yoga in the 60s and even before that. And that's one of the biggest things that I've seen is that there's so many different types of programs that people have maybe followed that have stayed the same. People have been, squatting forever. People have been deadlifting forever. I was thinking about this after you asked me to come on, like what are some maybe things I could talk about that really stand out to me. But it seems like the entrepreneurship and the ability for people to really find niches and put themselves out there is incredible. What is his name? George Barker Winship. He's at Harvard. He's the weakest person there, and then he realizes, I need to get stronger, and he makes this health lift, and then puts it in all these magazines and tries to get everyone, to follow it. And here at the Stark Center at UT, we have a lot of those clippings, and we see it in different magazines and newspapers and books, and it's just unreal that people can. They knew that health was something that they wanted to follow, especially at a time when, exercise wasn't wasn't what people were supposed to be doing. They weren't supposed to be exerting themselves. So it's just really interesting.
So it's kind of, when you were talking about people earlier, when we first started the podcast, we were talking about people and how they may be more averse to like team sports. But when you think about strength and conditioning and how vast the opportunities are to develop yourself, whether it's through powerlifting, whether it's through Olympic lifting or strongman training, I think it's pretty awesome to really think that you can really develop yourself as a complete human being and not worry about anyone else. Of course, you have your comparison. Like, look at that dude; he's freaking swole. Look at that girl; she's like doing more pull-ups than I am. But I think it's really awesome to be able to like pursue something like strength and conditioning and do it for yourself and be like, wow, I'm making progress. I am like lifting more than I did 2 weeks ago. Like, I am moving in such a way that I never thought I could move before. That's awesome. And I think that does a lot more for your psyche too than people think. They think it's so separated. They think like, movement is such a bro thing to do. But in essence, like we develop from movement. Our entire neocortex, our intelligence developed from us moving and creating those connections in our nervous system. So my question to you is like, why do you think people, because I talk to a lot of people nowadays, and I know CrossFit's done a good job of bringing back some awesome movements. Like they brought back Olympic lifting and brought back the gymnastics rings. Strongman now is becoming popular in CrossFit and bringing back these awesome things. And why do you think people are still like initially really averse to that kind of movement?
Well, that's a really good question. I think it's hard for people like us to really pinpoint it because we're in it, right? We don't have to be intimidated by it because we already know what's going on. But I know that when I walk in somewhere, say if I go to watch a Magic the Gathering competition or a tournament, I go in there thinking, oh my gosh, everyone knows I'm not supposed to be here because I don't look the part, whatever. Yeah. And so I think that a lot of it just has to do with just getting out of the comfort zone just a little bit. I think that it's just having someone with you, right? Even if it's just asking a personal trainer, or even if a gym was to, offer 2 weeks. Like, this is an idea that I was talking about with Cadiz, my girlfriend. I was thinking to myself, if I was to start a gym ever, one of the things I'd like to do is just give 2 weeks, Monday, Wednesday, Friday for 2 weeks, teach people how to lift when they come in and maybe give them a sample program just so that when they come in, they feel like, okay, I can at least get around here. I can make it in here. And so I think it's the same with a lot of things. And initially there's that introductory period. And it's really hard to do things yourself. It's really hard for me to teach myself things just from the computer where I don't have to go anywhere, much less go into a different setting, be judged by other people perhaps, and have a change in my identity. And so I think it's really deep, but yeah, I really think a lot of the solution to that is just attaching to someone, trying to get a friend to bring you in, someone that knows what they're doing, and finding a great environment. I mean, I've been so fortunate to have a good environment. This is a kind of me opening up a little bit, but for the longest time playing football, I was never the strongest, never the fastest, never the strongest, but luckily I was smart enough to be able to do what I needed to do to get better. But it wasn't until I moved here to Austin and started training at Hyde Park that, surrounded by our friend Ben and Jacob came over and they just were so positive. Usually I would hit a PR and my immediate thought was, oh, well, someone else does better than that. But they're just so positive, and their reinforcement, their feedback was so immediate that it didn't let my head think, oh, someone else can do it. Like, wow, well, maybe, yeah, they're right. Like, I hit 5-pound PRs, hit 10-pound PRs, and now that's what I follow, and that's what I try to preach to everyone. It's like, you should celebrate any progress, and it's progress, right? It's progress. So, yeah, I don't know, those types of things. It's being surrounded by that positivity and having someone that can, that can kind of show you the ropes, I think is huge. That's actually, I'm just rambling now, but that's actually one of the things that I've found to be pretty consistent, I guess, is that mentorship, and it happens. It's happened a lot. I'm doing some